Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this session. In the previous session, we looked into the styling of the tables with a lot of example how styling can be introduced to the HTML tables. In today's session, we will look into the forms. Already the basic form we have seen. Why forms are required? Forms are the way we can interact. It is one of the way we can interact with the web server, and where we can post the data. We can do the any kind of a processing. And what are the different things we can have? We can have text input. We can have password input, options list, radio buttons, checkboxes, those kinds of controls we can have. This particular example we already saw. I will show the source code once again. Most important thing about the form is a method. So there will be a method associated with particular form, how the data will be posted to the server. So that is the method by which the data is posted to the server. And second one is the action is the resource on the web server to which this form will submit the data, which will do the actual processing. And field set is the one which will group all the fields. So this is the beginning of the fields, this is the end of the fields. And legend, this is the legend. What you can see is the a box kind around the form is called as a legend. If you want to have like this, you can have the legend, and whatever the content you provide between the legend tags, that will be shown up here. And then we have the label. Each of the input field will have a label, okay, so that user will know what information has to be entered. We will have the label as title, then we have a input type text. So this is the input type text. Name, this is the you can think of this as a variable. Whatever the information you provide, that will be stored in this particular title, and it is sent to the server. Then again label, country. Then we have a drop down here, a select control, where we can show multiple options. And name of this particular control is where. Whatever the data is given here, it will be stored in the where. And these are the different options we want to display. So each option can be shown with the option tag, opening and closing. In between, whatever is the content, it will be shown here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 options. Those 4 options are shown here. This is the beginning of the select, this is the end of the select tag, and these are inside the paragraph. And at the end we have a input type submit. So submit, it is a button. When user clicks on this button, all this data is sent to the server. I will show you the source code. All right. There is some slowness, sorry for that. All right. And I will open it in the browser as well. These are my folders. It is in table forms, and name of the form is basic form HTML. This is how it will look like. Yesterday in the last session we have seen it in detail. I will show it here briefly. Here I have same inside the body tag. I have the form method, get method. There are 2 methods, get and post. So we'll see what is the difference between get and post. And action process.php, this is the file. It is will be the resource that will be available on the server, where this detail will be given. legend user details. You can see the user detail. That is how you will see the legend. So this is the legend. Then I have this label title, then text input type text, name title. Then again I have a label, enter password, then input type password, name pwd. So here if I give the some value, let us say central park, this central park will be stored in this title. Okay, this title variable, whatever the password I give here, it will be stored in pwd. Then I have a text area. Suppose if you want to have multiple line input, you can use the text area. This is the text area. So rows 3. Then I have a search, input type search, and a name srch. Whatever you give here, that will be stored in this srch. Then email, type email. There are, I told you, many types of inputs that are given in HTML5. Basically it will be helpful to take the respective data. For example, if you are asking for the email, already there is some structure for the email. Some default validations can be done here. So if I say here submit, it will give me a error, please include at the rate. So you will have that structure. Some basic validations are also already included. Then last one is the label, country, and these are the different options. So whatever the options are given here will be stored in where. So if I have Canada, and that is the this particular select, then I have input type is equal to submit. So this will create a submit button. So this is the submit button. Once I click on the submit button, all this data will be sent to the server, and it will be given to this particular resource, action.php, process.php. Okay, so right now I'm running this as a HTML. There is no server running. Just I will click submit. We will see there is a change in the URL. If you see the change in the URL, what I have here is, I will copy from this point onwards. You will see all the values, whatever the inputs you have, those values are given here. srch, title, pwd, my email, that is the name we have given to the each of these controls, input controls. And whatever the user given values, you can see it as the values that is passed. And you see plus, these are URL encoding. Instead of sending space, it will be sent as plus. So there will be some URL encodings that will be sent. For example, at the rate, it is represented as percentage 40 40, that is at the rate symbol. So those are URL encoding. Right now this is giving an error because we don't have this particular resource on the uh, process.php. So this code will be just we can see it only as a HTML. We will not be able to do the submit because we don't have the actual server side coding and server side implementation yet. So how does it work? First, user will request for the HTML. Once user requests for the HTML, browser returns the HTML document that has the form in it. That form will be pasted on the browser. User will input all the data and click on the submit. When user click on the submit, the user's form data is sent to the server with that particular request. And this request is usually for the some type of a server side script. In our case, we had process.php. So that data will be given to that process, and that processing will do whatever the required functionality that we have created. Query string. When we are sending the data, we to the server, we send it as a query string. So we know this particular input is text, the name is title, this one is the name that we have given is where. User will select the values. When he clicks on the submit, this is the query string that is formed. I just showed you here. This is the query string where we have the key and the value pair. Here, this is the name of that control and this is the value user has given, and all these will be separated by the ampersand. So title is equal to central plus park. Instead of space, we have URL encoding plus, and all these are separated by ampersand. Then we have the next name. So that is where is equal to united space instead of space plus states. That is how the values are sent. URL encoding, notice how the spaces and the accented URL encoded in red. So this is the name that is given here, Pablo space Jose space Picasso. So you can say wherever there is a space, you see plus, and instead of this is the accented E, we have some URL encoding. Two essential features of any form, as I told you, the action and the method attributes. Action attributes specify the URL of the server side resource that will process the form data. In our form, we had the process.php, that is the server side resource that will process the form data. And second one is the method attribute specifies how the query string data will be transmitted from the browser to the server side. These are the most commonly used. There are other methods as well. Most commonly used are get and post. So how get and post are different? Let us say we have the same form. One form uses the method as get and second form uses the method as post. If I use the method as get, whatever the example I shown you here, we use the method as get, right? So if you use the method as get, you saw the URL. The query string is part of the URL. After after the submit button is clicked, the URL will be like this: process.php. This is the server side resource. Then we have the a question mark. After that, we have the query string. The query string will have all these the controls, name and their values. Title is equal to central plus park ampersand. All these names will be separated by the ampersand. This is the query string. This is how it will be sent if you use the get as a part of the URL. Now, if you use the post method, it will not be part of the URL. The query string would be part of the HTTP header. So whenever you are requesting something, it would be a HTTP request that is sent to the server. As part of that, we will send the query string. Now you can see this is the HTTP header. Some header information will be there, and you can see the query string. The same query string which is here, that is sent as part of a HTTP header. That is the difference between the get and the post. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? In case of a get, data can be clearly seen in the address bar. So we saw here in the address bar, when we clicked here, we can clearly see the what is the data that user has sent. Central Park, all this information is directly visible in the address bar. Data remains in the browser history and cache. Because data is available there, it can be easily kept on the browser history as well as it can be kept in the cache, and data can be bookmarked. Suppose if this is a valid if I had a valid implementation of the server side, this particular page I can easily bookmark. Limit on the number of characters in the form data written. So with this, there is a certain limitation, right? We cannot have unlimited characters here. So there is a limitation on that. In case of a post, data can contain a binary data. So in this particular post method, we can have a binary data, and data is hidden from the user. The URL will not change. The data will be sent as part of the HTTP header, which is not visible to the user. So data is hidden. Submitted data is not stored in cache, history, or bookmarks. Whatever the data that is sent to the server, it will not be stored anywhere in the cache or the history of the browser, or you cannot make it as a bookmark. So it depends on what kind of application and how how much data is important for you. According to that, you can choose a get or post method. Forms control elements. Some of the form related HTML elements we have already seen with the basic form. Button defines a clickable button. Using this button control, we can include a button inside our form. This is other than the submit button. Okay, already for creating the submit, we use the input tag input type is equal to submit, so that is submit button. This is a separate button, so you can create a different types of buttons. We can have different attributes. We will see with the example. Then data list, an HTML5 element form defines list to be used with other form elements. We can create a list of elements that can be used along with the other control. I have an example for that. Once you see the example, you will understand. Field set, already we looked in the basic structure. This is the field set. So you can see clearly it makes the group of all the other fields. Field set groups related elements in a form together, and form defines the form container. So this is the form, it defines the form container, right? The form container, it begins here and it goes all the way, right? It includes everything. That is the form container. Then input defines an input field. HTML5 defines over 20 different types of input. In that particular example, we saw input of different type. We saw text, password, email, right? So this input is a text. This input is a password. Then this input is a, next one is a, this input is a search, this is a email, then this input is a submit. There are also other telephone you can have, that is a input. There are more than 20 different inputs we can have. Then label defines a label for a form input element. So whenever you are giving a certain element, to understand what that input is, what this input is given by the title, this is the title. Then legend defines a label for a field set group. This already we saw the legend. This is the legend. Then option. So when we have the multi-item, when we are having the list of countries, then we use the option to show all the different options. Opt group defines a group of a related options in a multi-item list. Suppose inside a suppose you want to select a state, you want to create a all the states. Suppose you have many countries inside that. According to the countries, you can group. So we will see that particular example defines a group related options in a multi-item list. So in that multi-item itself, you can create a group so that user can easily find out what he wants to select. Then select, it defines a item list. Already we saw that select, which gives multiple options. This is the select. That is the select HTML element, which can be used for the multi-item list like a drop-down list. Then text area, it define a text entry for multiple lines. Then text input control. Text input control, we already saw text creates a single text entry. How to use it? Open angle bracket input type is equal to text, name is equal to title / closing angle bracket. Then text area, this is for the single input. This is for the multi-line input. Suppose you want to take a paragraph or something like that, you can use the text area. Angle bracket text area rows is equal to 3. You can specify how many rows you want to display there, like 5 rows, 6 rows, whatever the things you want to display. And it ends with a forward slash and a closing angle bracket. Then password creates single line text entry box for a password. You will use angle bracket input type is equal to password. This is the keyword you are going to use. Then you will say name and all those stuff, whatever. So I have already shown you that with the example, so that's why I'm not repeating that particular demo. So you can see here, this is the same thing that is explained there. So here type is password and name is PWD. Then search creates a single text entry box suitable for search string. This is an HTML5 element. Here what you will give, type is equal to search, then you will give name and other attributes, whatever you want to include. Creates email, creates a single link text entry box suitable for entering email addresses. This element is an HTML5 element. So here you will say input type is equal to email. Then telephone creates a TEL represents telephone, creates a single line text entry box suited for entering a telephone. This is an HTML5 element. So input type is equal to TEL. So here also basic validations are included. Suppose you try to enter a character or something, then it will give a error saying enter a valid telephone. Then similarly URL type is equal to URL. This is also HTML5 element. Basic validations will be included. So if it is a URL, it will be looking for the domain and all those things. So it will check for some basic structure. This is first example. Input type is equal to text. This is how you are going to get the text area. So you can have it in two ways. Opening text area inside angle bracket, then you have the content, then closing text area with a forward slash. It will create this particular control. Then whatever is in the content area, that will be shown as the initial text. You can use like this or you can use like this. There is an attribute called as a placeholder. Text area attribute placeholder is equal to whatever you want to show initially when the text area is empty. That is the default text. What you want to show here is given by the attribute placeholder. Then type a password. When you enter, you will not see any character. So you will see lines, dots like this. Then we have search. Okay, you can, and similarly you can use the placeholder attribute enter search text. Let me add this one so that I have search here and I will add placeholder. Okay, placeholder is equal to enter I would say search text. Double quotes. I saved it. I will reload. So you can see for search, enter search text. That is, I gave it as a placeholder. So that is what it is showing here. Then email I showed you, like it will give some basic validations. If you just enter like this and he try to hit enter, it will say please enter an email address. This is what happens in Chrome. I also showed you a Chrome example. This is in Opera. So every browser has some kind of a support for this. It will display according to that. Then input type URL. Okay, then you are just giving a one word. It is saying type the URL. Then input type telephone. So it will do the validation for that telephone. Now HTML5 advanced controls. So you can see in case of a advanced control, we can add certain attribute or the pattern attribute we can add, and we can specify what kind of input is required. In this particular example, you can see I have a input type is equal to text. Then also I have a placeholder. This is placeholder is by default it will show this text. This is saying L #L space #L space. And what is the pattern? In the pattern, you will provide a regular expression. So I hope all of you are aware about the regular expression. What is the pattern given here is I want the pattern to be like this inside the two double quotes, where first I have a letter between A and Z. Second, I have a digit between 0 and 9. Next, I have a again a letter, then I have a space. Basically this is letter, number, letter, space, then number, letter, number, that is hash number, letter, number. This is the pattern. So you are showing like this so that user will come to know I have to enter the data like this. I will show you the example. Okay, so I have example here. You can see here L hash L hash L hash. I will open the source code for that. This is the source. Okay, inside the source code, okay, I have a form here. Okay, this is the form. This is the field set, legend, details, then label, postal, and after the postal, I have input type text, name, title, placeholder, L hash L hash L hash. Okay, with a space in between. Then this is the pattern. This is the pattern I have specified. And then end of the paragraph, then I have a one more data list. We'll see the example of the data list later. Now what is he expecting? Letter, number, letter. So what I will do, I will give three letters only. I will give a. Then I will try to submit. Please match the requested format. Okay, so requested format is like this. It has to be a letter, yes, then number, then again letter. After that I have to have a space, then I need to have number, letter, number. This is the right format. If you give in this format, this is the correct format. Now I will submit. Okay, so even though it will give error, but it has accepted that value. Okay. Title is equal to this value, whatever the number I have given. If you give any other format here, it won't accept, it will give error. Suppose if I want to give without space, I will say 9C9. Between those two there should be space, then again it will say it is not matching. So whatever the pattern you want to include, suppose you have a data requirement where you want to have a very clean data, and you want particular data entry to be done in particular fashion only, then you can include the regular expression so that you will get the clean data. Otherwise users will not be able to submit that particular form. Then suppose if I want to have a data list and I want to include that one with some other elements, I can use the data list HTML control. How to do that is, I have open data list, open angle data list. I want to give certain ID for that. ID is equal to cities. Then I will close it. Then closing data list is here inside the angle bracket forward data list. Between these two, opening and the closing data list tags, I will have all the list inside the options. So opening option, closing option, I have Calcutta, then option 2 Calgary, option 3 London, option 4 Los Angeles, then option 5 Paris, then option 6 Prague. These are the different countries list I have made. Sorry, not countries, cities list I have made, and I have kept it as a data list with the ID city. Now I have one input control. I will create one input control equal to text, then name is city, then I will associate this list with that control. List is equal to cities. Now this control, when it is displayed, it will have all these values. The same example included that also. You can see here label search city. I will show you the page. I will refresh. Okay, search city, then input type text city, then list city, where I have the data list right here only. This is the data list. Okay, ID cities, the same cities ID as a list value. So this is the list attribute, that value is given as the ID of this data list, and inside that I have all this value. Suppose if I click here, automatically you will see all the combinations okay, that are available in that particular list. So you can say some value, and this I will give the valid, then I will say submit. You can see now city is equal to, okay, you can see here city is equal to Calgary. Now next is the select list. We have already seen the select list. Select element is used to create a multi-line box for selecting one or more items. The options are defined using the option element and can be hidden in drop down, or multiple rows of the list can be visible. The option item can be grouped together via the opt group element. So we will see with the example what is the opt group. Here first we have select, select name is given as choices. Inside that I have option first, then selected, and the third. So selected is an attribute that we can include for the option, where it will show the selected value. And this one is select size is equal to 3, so it will make that window as size as 3. And here we are using the opt group. So here opt group, this is the select control I have. Inside that I have opt group, label is equal to North America. You can see this is the opt group North America, and we are listing all the countries that are under the North America. Inside that I have Calgary, Los Angeles, Calgary, Los Angeles. This is the opening of the opt group, and it is closing of the opt group. This is inside this select, opening select and the closing select. Then I have one more opt group called Europe. Opt group, label Europe, then all the cities in Europe as a options, London, Paris, Prague, and close of the opt group. This is how we can use. I will show you the code for that. Okay, this is the example for that. Let me open the source code. Okay. This is the first example. I have label choices. You can see choices. Then size is equal to 3. Name is equal to choice. Then option first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So if you see here, the window is for 3 items. You can see only 3, but there are 5 options: first, second, fourth, and fifth. And you can see by default, whichever option I have selected, that value will be shown. Suppose if I change it to some other option, and let me give it for the first. I will save it, and I will reload the page. Now you can see by default it is first one is selected. Okay, if you submit the form as is, this would be this value would be sent to the server. Now, and this window shows 3. Let me make it as 2. Just I will saved it. So you can see only 2 values are visible now. And next one is the opt group. So here I have created cities label. Then I have a select element. Inside the select element, I have 2 opt groups. Okay, opening opt group, closing opt group. The first opt group is North America. I have Calgary, Los Angeles, and Chicago, where Los Angeles is selected. and next opt group is Europe. Inside that I have two options, London and Paris. So if you see here, this is what we are going to see. The opt group, you will not be able to select the opt group. So if you see here, I am not able to select the opt group. I can select. What is the use of this opt group? I can see now, if I want to have the find the cities in North America, I can directly go to this opt group and search. If I'm looking for the a city inside the Europe, I can directly look under the Europe. I don't have to. So that is how the data is segregated, and users will be able to easily select what they want. Suppose I will select here Chicago, and then I will select here second, then I will say submit. You can see the choice, that is the name given for the first control. I will show you. See, choice, this is the name given. The choice is second, choice is equal to second, and city. So the name given to the select is city. City is equal to Chicago. Okay, now which value was selected in this particular example? Whatever you are selecting, whatever the value you are seeing here. So when I say here second and Chicago, this particular value was sent to the backend. This choice was sent as second, and city was sent as Chicago. Suppose if you want to send some other values, you can use the value attribute. The value attribute of the option element is used to specify what value will be sent back to the server. The value attribute is optional. If not specified, then the text within the container is sent instead. So in our example, we did not use the value attribute. So what value will be sent? Whatever is the text here, whatever is the content here, that content will be sent. Optionally, if you want to select some other values, if you want to send some other values, you can do so. For example, here you can see first one, we did not use the value attribute for the option. So suppose if you select the second and press submit, the second value will be sent. But here you can see, instead of sending first, second, third, maybe for processing it will be easier for you if you get the number, right? Behind the scene you can send it as 1, 2, 3. These will not be displayed on the screen, but it will be behind the scene. You will see these particular values. So maybe if you want, I will change the source code and we can see that. So the first one selected, okay, value is equal to 1. So better we will put it in double quotes. That is the standard. I removed the selected so that it doesn't confuse you. Value is equal to 3. I saved it. Just I will use only 3 values. I will reload the page. You can see selected has gone. Let me select second and let it be Los Angeles. I will say submit. Now you can see the choice is equal to 2. Instead of second, instead of this second, this value is sent. Just we will send the fourth one. Okay, we'll select the fourth one. We'll see what happens. Let me select fourth one, for which I don't have the value attribute, and let it be Los Angeles, and I will say submit. Now you can see choice is equal to fourth because there is no value attribute and city is Los Angeles. I will save this as. Okay, I put back the selected. Okay, that is how you can have the value attribute, and you can send the alternate values. And for your information, you are not seeing the 1 2 3. User doesn't know what values will be sent. Of course, if you are using a get method, from the screen user will come to know you are sending 1. But if you are using the post method, user will not be seeing what information that has been sent to the server. Next is radio buttons. Radio buttons are useful when you want the user to select a single item from a small list of choices, and you want all the choices to be visible. Then we can use the radio button. So radio button is when you are using the radio button, out of a given list, you want users to choose only one, right? You cannot choose more than one option. Then you will use the radio button. When you will use the checkbox button, when you want users to select multiple values, means whenever, for example, if you are asked to choose a department, let us say you are joining engineering. When you are choose to join for admission, you are taking a particular branch, you cannot choose more than one branch, isn't it? Then you will use the radio button. And suppose you are creating something and we are asking the your interest. The interest would be multiple, then you have to give the checkboxes where interest would be more than one, which is very valid. But admission, you cannot take admission for multiple branches at a time. So there it goes the radio button. Radio buttons are added via the input type is equal to radio. So type you will specify as a radio. The buttons are mutually exclusive. Only one can be chosen by sharing the same name attribute. So we will see the example where it will be very clear. Whatever is written here, it will be very clear. How to include a radio button. Type is equal to radio. And how many buttons you want to include? 4. Then you will have 4 input, and all the name would be same. If the name is same, then they belong to the same control, and they are mutually exclusive. Only one can be selected. The checked attribute is used to indicate the default choice. Means whichever button is checked, that will be used as the default value. Okay, default choice. The value attribute works in the same manner as with the option element. So similarly, if you don't specify the value, whatever is the content that will be sent. If you want to have some other value to be sent, then you can use the value attribute. So this is the example. So we have continent. 3, suppose you are asking somebody to select his continent, then you are giving it as a radio button. North America, South America, and Asia, these are the continents for the choice. Now if you see, I have 1 2 3 input. 1 2 3 input. Type all are radio, all are radio. Name, this is very important. Name is exactly the same because these all three belong to only one control. So the name of that control or the variable is where. And value, here you are specifying the value for each. So first one, if user speak, you will send the where is equal to 1 to the server. If they select South America, where is equal to 2. If they select Asia, where is equal to 3. And this is the content that is shown on the browser. And break is, you want to have the control, next control shown on the next line, that's why you have the break. And you can see here checked. Okay, earlier we had the selected. In case of the drop down option, we had selected. Here we have checked attribute. By default, when form is loaded, this particular value will be already checked. We'll see the example for that. Okay, this is the example and the source code for that. Radio button. So rest of the things are same. Form, field set, everything is same. label continents, input type is radio, this is radio, name where value 1, and checked, you can see this one is checked, and content is North America, and then we have the break. Okay, this particular tag we used it for a breaking into the next line, so it will control will come to the next line. Then I have the next input radio button, name is exactly the same, then value 2 South America, third one is radio, where is the name, value 3 Asia, and at the end I have a input submit button. Input type is equal to submit, that is the submit button. Now as is, let me submit. Now you can see here where is equal to 1 because the first value is selected. Let me go back, let me change this to South America and submit. Where is equal to 2, that is what is sent to the server. And if you want to make any changes, you can make it. Instead of this one is checked, you want to have the next to be checked, you can do that. Okay, now you can see this one. And if you want to remove the let us say value you don't want to put, then whatever the content is there, that content will be sent. I will remove this, I will save it, I will reload the page. Page is reloaded. South America, I have removed the option, the value attribute. If I say submit, then where will be sent as on. Okay, in this case the value will be sent as on. Okay, not the content, it will be sent as on. Let me put back the value. See. Okay, that is the example of a radio button. Next one is checkboxes. Then checkboxes, when you can use the checkboxes where you want to get multiple options from the users, multiple values from the users, you can use the checkboxes. Checkboxes are used for getting yes, no, or on off responses from the user. Checkboxes are added via the input type is equal to checkbox element. You can also group checkboxes together by having them share the same name. Similar to the radio button, you can have the same name and you can group them. Each checkbox will have its value sent to the server. Means whatever the value you have for the each of the checkbox, that value will be sent. Like with the radio buttons, the checked attribute can be used to set default value of a checkbox. So similar to the radio button, you can have a checked attribute where by default it will be selected. This is the example. Excuse me. I accept the software license. This is a one checkbox. How to get it? This would be the label. Label is I accept the software license. Okay, closing of the label. Then you have input type is equal to checkbox, name is equal to accept. This is how you are going to see it. This is the second example. Where would you like to visit? Then I have multiple options here: Canada, France, and Germany using checkboxes. Label, where would you like to visit? After that, there is a break. So break, that's why the next control is coming on the next line. If you see here, we don't have a break here. That's why this checkbox came right next to the label. We are using break here. It will come to the next line. Input type is equal to checkbox, name is equal to visit, value Canada. So you are sending the value as Canada, and this is in unit cap Canada. Second, name is same, visit, value is France. Third one is name is same, value is Germany, content is Germany. So if you submit this one, this is how the value will go. When I click on the submit, this is on. Okay, similar to radio button. If value is not specified, it is going to be sent as on. Accept is equal to on, and visit is equal to Canada and Germany. Visit is equal to Canada, and visit is equal to Germany. Two values will be sent with the separated by the ampersand. Let me show the example. Okay, this is already done. Okay, checkbox is here. Okay, let me first show the page. This is the checkbox. Same code. This is the code. I have field set. Inside that, type. Here you can just see I have moved it to the first. Okay, that is how you, however you want to put, you can put it. First, I have the control input type is equal to checkbox name accept value 1. So I am sending value as 1. Then I have the just as a text, not even as a label. If you want to have it as a label, you can have it as a label. Here it is just as a text on the browser. So I accept the software licensing agreement. After that, I have break, which will come to the next line. So end of the paragraph. In another paragraph, which country you would like to visit. So this is the label. Then I have 3 checkboxes with the same name, where, with different values and different content. Now I will accept and I will select France, Germany and submit. You can see accept is equal to, in this particular case I'm sending it as 1. If you remove that, it will be sent as on. And what are the other values? Where is equal to 2 and where is equal to 3. Here I'm sending the values. If you don't specify the value here, then it will send these values. Okay, then it will send as on, this as this particular input as on and this as on. All right. So next are button controls. With example, it will take a little bit more time to complete. So in the next session, we will see the button controls.